Welcome to Pet Pals. I'm Dee Dee and this is Randy, and we are here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center on Rosemont Avenue, bringing you adoptable pets that we have in the shelter this week. And our first guest is pretty active. We have several baby hamsters. They came to us by way of a very surprised hamster owner. Some pet stores attempt to avoid this problem by having only male hamsters at one store and only female hamsters at another store. But every once in a while, someone buys 2 hamsters from a pet store because they seem like they're getting along and brings them home, and then they end up with baby hamsters, and that's exactly what happened in this case. Hamsters can have a litter when they're quite young, so you might not expect it. But one of the things to know about hamsters is that they're quite happy living alone. So even though when you're in the store and the babies are cute, running around together, you do not need to purchase 2. Hamsters in the wild are very territorial, especially the girls, and they like their own space and they don't mind living alone, especially if you get them a very interactive cage and fix it up nicely with deep litter and play areas and tunnels and all kinds of stuff. Then they will make quite the little palace. And I've actually seen some pretty creative bookshelf redos that make a very nice habitat for hamsters. So if you want to find out more about that, you can check out Small Angel's website. They will tell you all about hamster care. And the little ones we have are only 2 months old, but we also have a couple of adults. And they really make fun children's pets. The one thing I would caution you is that if you get a pet for your child, don't make it contingent on them keeping up with the care of the pet. If you don't want the pet in the home and you don't want to assume some of the responsibility, don't get one. It's a shame for kids to lose their pet because they're forgetful, and we know they will be. So Randy is really being put to the test here. So we're going to be bringing our next guest on so that he can.
I don't want him to get hurt.
Yeah, they're very agile, unlike guinea pigs, so they really do need to be watched all the time. They are good escape artists. Oh. And here goes one.
Come here.
You got him. This is Socks. Socks is a Himalayan rabbit, which in markings is very close to a Siamese cat. Instead of having blue eyes, though, they have pink, which is more common in rabbits. Siamese cat is related to albino, and a Himalayan rabbit is related to albino genetically. Not that that matters, but that's how they get their pink eyes and their beautiful markings. And her name is Socks because she looks like she's wearing socks. She's only 10 months old, and she was a child's pet. And just as as I mentioned with the hamsters, the child that was responsible for taking care of her sort of fell down on the job, and the parents did not want to keep the rabbit without help caring for the rabbit. So she is here, and we actually have a lot of rabbits here. We have about 6 rabbits in the shelter, and they have taken over our puppy room, for those of you who have been here and know what the layout of the floor is like. And we are finding it more and more common for people to adopt rabbits or buy them from a pet store because they believe that a pet that lives in a cage is somehow going to be easier than a dog and cat. And while it's definitely different, you're never going to have a live being in the family that's any easier than any other, because they need to be fed, cleaned, spent time with, trained to some extent, especially rabbits, because since they're prey animals, they're very afraid of being grabbed or picked up. So you have to teach them that it's a safe thing when a person you know handles you. So, and that takes some time. Randy was saying when he went back to get her that she was a little hard to gather up because she's nervous, and as you can see, she's breathing a little hard. But if you come to meet her when she's in her element, she's a very active, forward, friendly bunny. It's just hard on them to be picked up by a stranger. And because they're domesticated animals, they get over it much more quickly than a wild animal would. And because she's quite beautiful and very young, I don't think she's going to have any trouble finding a home as long as we get the word out there that we even have rabbits. People have no idea to come to the shelter if they're looking for a rabbit. And we are fighting against the impulse buy at pet stores. When people walk into a pet store, they may be there to pick up dog food and had no thought about taking a bunny home. And of course they see one, they're so beautiful, and at the pet store they'll fix you up with all the supplies that you need. So you walk out with a bunny and 6 months later realize that you've taken on more than you intended. And then normally pet stores can't take them back because they have quarantine issues, and they may have purchased more bunnies to replace them and have no space. So then people end up bringing the rabbits to us. There is a belief that it happens right after Easter, and this year it did. We got about 3 bunnies within 10 days of Easter. But more normally what happens is we get rabbits a year later. And the reason for that is as long as they're babies and they're easy to care for and they're cute, people keep them. But then a year later they bring them to us because rabbits live 10 to 15 years. And people don't realize that when they bring home a pet, that you're making that kind of commitment. Even with dogs and cats, they don't realize. So if you are thinking about having a rabbit, check out houserabbit.org or call us and we'll put you in touch with Carla Pickett, who can tell you everything you ever wanted to know about bunnies and what they need. You can also just stop by the shelter and see how we're keeping them in the puppy room. Some of them are in rabbit cages, so you can see how that works, but some of them are in puppy pens, which is nice for them. The more exercise that rabbits get, the healthier that they are. Okay, I don't even have to say anything for this one. You're just gonna want her. This is a little Chihuahua Beagle mix that some people bought on purpose and then realized that puppies are really a lot of work. And so she is here. And as you probably all know by now, we take 4 applications for every puppy and pick the best match. What we're looking for is somebody who either has the dedication to raise a puppy or has lots of experience raising a puppy. And we'll ask you questions about that. Make sure your landlord says it's okay, because I can tell you right now, if someone's not home all day when you leave her alone, she's going to cry. So if you have neighbors that would complain about that, then you know, she's not the puppy for you. She's a real baby puppy. She's gonna need constant attention and training for about a year, and then she'll make somebody a really great puppy. She's super cute. She'll sell herself, but we have to be careful about that because I want to take her home, but I am gone 8 hours a day and there's no way that I can provide for her what she needs. Of course, I could elect to send her to puppy daycare every day, which I have done with a puppy before to great success. So there are plenty of ways to work it out if you're dedicated, and certainly look at that face. That inspires dedication. So if you are interested in getting a baby puppy, let us know, because it takes a special person and it's well worth the effort. And especially if you're home and you have kids at home, there is nothing kids like better than a tiny puppy. One thing you might want to consider though is the age of your children, because this puppy is not going to get very big. She'll probably be under 40 pounds her whole life, maybe under 30. That you want to make sure your kids are old enough that they will be of an age where they don't drag her by the leg and ears and stuff. So certainly you can watch them 24/7 and make sure they don't. If you have that kind of time to do so, it'll be well worth it. And she is a cutie. I didn't even tell you what her name is. Her name is Princess. She won't care if you change it. At the moment, she likes it. Oh, and Randy said she's being gentle with her teeth, which is nice because that's something you have to teach puppies to do, and if they already have the tendency to be gentle, it's a little bit easier. This is Duke. Duke's a pretty popular dog name, and this breed of dog was pretty popular when I was younger, and I don't see them as much anymore. They're called black-mouthed cur, or mountain cur, not sure which one he is, but he looks like blackmouth because he's typical fawn with a black mask. And many people think that they're pit bulls, which they're not at all. But they probably were used to create the bully breed mixes that are used for farm work, because that's what they're for. Blackmouth curs are farm dogs, and they can do a little herding, they do a little guarding of livestock. They are known to be very good with children, and they're pretty. So, and as you can see, this guy is a little nervous because he's in a new place. One of the things about these dogs is because they're farm dogs, they're not known for running off, and they're not known for approaching strangers. So that's what made them great farm dogs, is that you could keep them on large acreage and they would stay home. Now, obviously, this guy is only a year old, and he's used to kids of all ages from the family that he came to. And the reason that they gave him up is because financially they just couldn't keep a dog right now. And it is something to think about, the cost of a dog. It's less than a couple $100s a year to get their shots and checkup, but you can't count on a dog to never get injured, to never get sick. And of course, there are other things associated with dogs than vet bills, and that is the buying of food and toys and things like that. Fence, if you want a fence, is quite expensive. About I guess it's 5 years ago now, I put in a fence around my house, and it was very expensive, but I have to say it's one of the smartest things I've ever done. My dogs really enjoy it, makes my life easier too. Well, now you want your treat. So Randy was mentioning that he doesn't pull hard on the leash, but he is letting us know that he would like to explore the rest of the room and check things out. Of course, now that Randy has food, that may have all changed. So Duke is going to make someone a very nice family pet. If you are interested in finding out more about these dogs, check the breed out on the internet, and you will learn a lot. And interestingly, we've had about 3 curs and cur mixes in the last couple of months. So there may be a breeder in the area that we don't know about. And hopefully it'll be easy to find a lot out about them, and they'll become popular in Frederick because they do make a great pet.
Oh, you smell that hamster.
This is Duke. I know our last guest name was Duke, and it is a popular dog name. This dog's name is also Duke. Duke is a German Shepherd mix. He is about 8 years old, and he lived on a farm, and they had 30-some acres. And his owner told me that the reason that he gave him up was that they had to tie him up on the farm to keep him from wandering off the boundaries of the 30-some acres. And he's great with kids. There's farm animals there. There's barn cats there. And he's friendly with people. But one of the things that's very complicated if you don't have a fence and you have that much land is that there has to be intensive training involved in keeping a dog on an arbitrary boundary that people set. So what the owner assumed was because they had scores of acres that he would just never have reason to cross the boundary. But of course, dogs don't understand where the line is. So the owner said that Duke would go to the road and greet people and follow people, and he's a people dog. He wants to be with people. So he is going to make a great family pet, but he needs more boundaries than just to be told, live here. So as you can see, tail constantly wagging, interested in people, easy to handle, but big. He's a big boy. So a lot of times people are reluctant to get a dog that's over 5 years old. And even some no-kill rescues won't take dogs over 5 years old. But I think that's a shame, because he is similar to a 40-year-old person, and that means that he has lots of life left to give, a little maturity and wisdom, and that he can really fit into a family more quickly than a puppy, because puppies, you got to invest that whole year to 18 months to teach them what happens in the world and that the world is a safe place. Duke already knows the world is great. He wants to be in it, and he just needs somebody to share it with. So if you think Duke would make a good match for you or someone that you know, you can help us out by sharing his picture on Pet Finder, by sharing a link to this episode of Pet Pals, or by going to Pet Finder and printing out his profile and posting it someplace where people who may not know about the shelter on Rosemont, where we are, or who may not know about adoptable dogs in Frederick, can see it, and then they will understand that their new best friend is waiting for them right here. We're going to be back after a short break with more adoptable animals at Frederick County Animal Control.
Live with a human for a while and you get to know a few things. Like, I know she's actually not a morning person. I know she does strange tricks for no treats. I know that water makes her howl like crazy. I even know how the floor stays so clean. She's quick. But the one thing I will never for the life of me know is how she gets so tiny and inside that box. Natalie, how do you get so tiny?
Get out and be active. The Frederick County Division of Parks and Recreation offers a variety of recreational opportunities for citizens of all ages and ability. Experience the fun and excitement by visiting our special events, participating in youth activities such as youth sports, cooking classes, or camps, or get in shape by attending one of our many fitness classes, martial art classes, or dance classes. Whatever you're looking for, we are sure to have it. The Frederick County Division of Parks and Recreation, where Frederick County comes to play.
Welcome back. We are back with some adoptable cats at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center, and our first guest is Chocolate. And Chocolate is a fluffy kitten. We call them domestic medium hairs, but that's just a way that we can identify them on paperwork. She is a beautiful brown tabby, and she is about 12 weeks old. She does have a litter mate here in case you're looking for two to adopt together. We do give a discount on the second kitten when you adopt two together, or adult cats as well. Cats that are over 5 years old are further discounted, and cats that are over 10 years old are even further discounted. And it has nothing to do with their value as a pet. It has to do with the cost to us, in part, for getting them ready. Obviously, all kittens need to be spayed and neutered, and we are subsidized by your tax dollars to pay for that. But the adoption fee helps us recoup some of the cost of running the shelter and help out the taxpayers with helping homeless animals. So Chocolate, Randy said when he went to get her, was sleeping, so she's in a snuggly mood. But don't let that fool you, because all kittens sleep hard and play hard. So she will have her playful moments as well. And this is the time of year to look for kittens if you are so inclined. Between April and October, we get over 1,000 of them. And the ones that come in April are usually tiny babies that have to go in our foster program before they are big enough to adopt out. So this time of year, we have plenty of kittens to choose from. Sometimes people make the mistake of waiting until Christmas to look for a kitten, and they're not very commonly available at that time of year. So if you are thinking of getting a kitten this year, now is the time, and we have every color, several different sizes, males, females, long-haired, short-haired, whatever you might be interested in. So come on by and take a look at them, bring the whole family, and see if we can make a match. Our next guest is Daisy, and Daisy is orange and brown tabby at the same time. We call that Torby, and she was one of the moms in our foster care program. So she raised kittens with us, and now she is ready to be adopted into her own home. She is between 2 and 3 years old, and we will spay her and microchip her. She's litter trained, and since she's been in a foster home, we have a profile about what she likes and dislikes, and her dislikes are few. She is a good cat, and one of the things that does happen for the mom cats is this time of year, their kittens are filling up the shelter, and they're very cute, and they get adopted. So the moms get overlooked temporarily. By Christmas time, they are back as the main feature, but we do like to get them adopted out sooner rather than later. So if you're not set on a kitten, then absolutely consider coming in and looking at some of our moms, because they have done a great job raising their kittens, and now they need to have a family of their own that's going to be permanent. If you think that Daisy would make a good match for you or someone that you know, then do the usual things. Share this episode of the TV show, or go to Pet Finder, print out her profile, or you can electronically share her or this show through social networking or Facebook or whatever you might use. It really does help us get the word out, because I am surprised every day by people who say that they didn't know the shelter was here, they didn't know Frederick had a shelter, they didn't know Frederick only had one shelter, or they thought that a local rescue group like the Humane Society was where the shelter is. So anytime you can help us get the word out that the animals are here at the Frederick County Animal Control Center and Pet Adoption Center on Rosemont, then that really helps us to let people know where to come when they're looking for pets. And if you are not looking for a pet right now, you can still help us out by volunteering, donating, or just getting the word out. This is Gabby, and Gabby is also a Torby cat. She's about 1.5 years old, and a family brought her to us. They found her, but they already had a number of pets, so they weren't able to keep her. Of course, when people find a nice, friendly animal like this, they usually try to find the owner on their own, because of course you assume that the cat or dog didn't come from very far away. So it seems logical that if you got the word out among your neighbors and friends, that you'd be able to find out who was missing the pet. But there is a population of cats in Frederick that don't specifically have owners. So they make do by begging for food infrequently from different neighbors. Some cats have 2 or 3 owners. And so I always recommend to people, if you are caring for a cat that's primarily outdoors, put a collar on them with your phone number, because that's how you will find out if the cat has some other owners as well. And then you can coordinate who's going to house the cat in the winter, and who's going to pay for a rabies shot, and who's going to call each other and make sure you've seen him or her lately. And then eventually the cat's going to settle on one place, and you can make that adoption more permanent. In Frederick County, you have to keep your cats on your property, but that is really complaint-based. So if several neighbors are owning the same cat and they're working it out, we're never going to know about it. But it is easier to make sure the cat is safe if they come into a certain house every night, and if they remain on one property where they're not bothering any other property owners, and they're not in danger from cars and dogs and whatnot. So if you are have a loosely owned cat, then it might be time to make sure that she's spayed or he's neutered. The rabies shot is up to date, because we have had in Frederick 6 cats test positive this year for rabies, which is pretty high compared to previous years. So very important that your cats have rabies shots and a license, so that if they get separated from you, it's easy to get them back. We also recommend microchips for cats, because they lose their collars frequently. In Gabby's case, the people who found her said that she was such a friendly, nice cat that they were sure she could get a home, as are we. So if you think that Gabby would make a nice match for you or someone that you know, let us know, or pass her picture around. Our next guest is Mouse, and Mouse is my favorite kind of cat, which is all black. And she is one of our most adaptable, just permissive. She lets volunteers and visitors do anything. She always approaches the front of the cage, jumps off her shelf, and is engaged with people. And we know she's like that outside of the shelter too, because the people who found her had dogs and cats, and she just strolled right into their house, made herself right at home. And like finders of other cats, they thought they would be able to find her family, but they weren't. So she is here awaiting her new home. She's something between 3 and 4 years old, And we know that she's brave. She's got a little notch in her ear, which means the scuffle she got in was not involved. She was not running away. So that shows that she's pretty brave. And she also has a unique tail. It's very puffy for a short-haired cat, but it has a kink in it. So whether that got injured by getting caught in something or some other way, we're never going to know. She's not telling. She has a lot of secrets. And she is a lap cat. She is a love bug. She is a wonderful, sweet, likes people, approaches cat, which I find typical of black cats. And that's probably because the color is pretty common genetically, so more outgoing personalities would seem like they might accompany the color. Research has been done on colors of cats, and of course it's not a foolproof method to choose your cats, but they did find that black cats are the least likely to jump from the arms of a stranger. So my belief about black cats has been proven by research that I did not do. So she is a lovely cat. The people who found her named her Mouse, and we've kept that name. She certainly isn't going to care if you change it. She may have had another name in her life, but she's great, a great pet, and she certainly deserves to have a home of her own and a family of her own, and I know she'll be very appreciative when she gets that. So if you think you know someone who might be interested in her, even though it's close to Halloween, we don't have any restriction on adopting a cat at that time because we check out all our applicants, whatever time of year it is and whatever pet they're interested in. And some of the beliefs about black cats and Halloween are just myths, but obviously we're careful with every adoption to make sure that people aren't adopting a pet because it's a novelty, that they really want a new family member and that they are matched to the pet that they choose or that chooses them, which often happens in the shelter. So thanks for joining us on Pet Pals. I really appreciate it when people tune in and share our pets with other viewers that maybe don't watch the show or maybe don't know about the shelter, because we still take in between 5,000 and 6,000 animals every year. That has been the case for about 10 years. That means an average of 15 a day. So we really need help getting the word out that these animals, wonderful pets, previous pets, lost pets, are in need.
Sharing on the internet is good because not everybody gets Channel 19. It's a Comcast.
Oh yeah, and Randy's bringing up that Channel 19, you're watching the show now either on cable or the internet. So if you share electronically or social networking, it really helps us because it reaches people that can't necessarily find the show any other way. And it also is that bridge between people like you who support what we do, know about what we do, and watch the show and come to the shelter and volunteer, and those people who it might be new for. There are over 200,000 people in Frederick, and only 6,000 pets come through the shelter in a year. We should be able to find a match for all of them every year, except for the few that might be dangerous or infirm in some way that would make them not good pets. The rest, we would love to save them all because it's a goal that's reachable, certainly in my lifetime, and the sooner the better, because animal shelter workers are necessarily very interested and knowledgeable about animals, and they are the last people that should be asked to make decisions about which animals to save because they care so much. So by you getting the word out, we make it less necessary that animals with minor problems don't get homes. Now we are lucky enough that all healthy, friendly ones can be saved, but some of the animals that we can't save have minor health issues or minor temperament issues that we could definitely work on if we had the space and time. So your help is greatly appreciated and makes all the difference to these guys. Where are you going?